ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to the Friday Night Rock Show the man who is actually called the voice of rock. It is living legend, Mr. Glenn Hughes.
Yeah.
That's very kind.
Glenn, how are you, sir?
I'm doing really well. Thank you. Nice to be on your show.
Thank you very much. Now, your career and your past, I'm going to sort of skip over a lot of it. With everybody knows about Deep Purple and Black Sabbath and things like that. We'll come to a bit more of that later. But we're here today to talk about your brand new band, California Breed.
Yeah, yep. Really excited.
I know. We've just been listening to the album on the way in the car. It's a corker.
Yeah, we're really happy with it. It was a kind of a secretive thing we were doing in America last year, and now it's all ready to go.
Hi, Glenn. This is Kendall, the other half of the Friday Night Rock Show.
Hey.
Really wanted to ask you something about how does it feel being in a three-piece band, and does it feel that because a three-piece band has to rely on only, obviously, three people, do you put out extra, do you go the extra mile?
I think, Kendall, the question you're asking me is, what's it like to be in a trio after all these years of having keyboards? If you probably won't remember, but before I joined Deep Purple, I was in a classic trio called Trapeze.
Funk.
I learned my way of playing and singing in a trio, and it feels like I've finally come home to organically being in a bass, drums, guitar band again. So it was unique, and it's more importantly what we left out. I mean, the notes we leave out or people leave out are uniquely as more important as the notes we play and sing.
Well,
Yes.
I must say that the single that we will be allowed to play until we can do the whole album, the single has a lot of impact. It's very fresh.
It is. It has. As much as I love, we're not really trying to be retro. We've done this in an album live. We did it on a Helios board on 2-inch analog tape, no Pro Tools, live. Everything is live: guitars, drums, and vocals, all live, and really vintage equipment, vintage pedals, vintage amps, vintage guitars. But once again, I guess I'm just being who I am. I'm a kind of a heritage artist, so, but I think the album sounds exclusively modern,
That's cool. Glenn, I'm going to take a shot in the dark here because I've never read this anywhere. Would I be right in saying that one of your biggest influences was a man called James Jamerson?
Very much so. I did a benefit show.
Correct.
Yeah. I did a benefit show for James 2 years ago with my friend Stevie Wonder, and I became really good friends with James's family, and really changed my life because when I listen to my work, my artistry my bass playing comes from Paul McCartney and James Jamerson. So when I was just a wee laddie.
There you go. Now, your new album, it's out in March.
May 19th.
Sorry, May. Written by all three of you. Now, for our listeners, if you don't know this, we've got Mr. Hughes himself on vocals and, of course, on bass. None other than Jason Bonham. You've been a bit unlucky with your drummers through the years, really, Glenn, haven't you?
Not.
Well, my best friend is Chad Smith, and obviously, he's very busy with the Chili Peppers. But Jason, I've known Jason for 45 years, and from when he was in diapers, So I'm carrying on a Bonham Hughes tradition. Jason and I knew when Black Country broke up that we were going to form a new band. We didn't want to do a Black Country Part 2. We wanted to. I think it's always good when football or people remember the teams at their highest, and it's also good to bow out when you're at a peak. I didn't want to have to start auditioning guitar players for Black Country. So Jason and I hugged each other and said, let's just move on. I was offered a solo deal, and I asked the record company, can I bring a band into this rather than a solo? And they said, well, as long as you're singing, it's okay. So
that's cool.
So Jason and I found Jason through my friend Julian Lennon, and it was fantastic.
Now, you've also brought into the band a young guy that is almost an unknown, a guy called Andrew Watt.
Yeah, we can Google Andrew. You'll find that, Andrew's 19, 20 when he started to show himself on the YouTube. He's extremely talented, vibrant New York kid that I met through Julian Lennon last year, and Andrew came to my home, and we wrote Chemical Rain and Solo in the same afternoon. And then I called Jason. I said, hey, just maybe, I just think we might have something here. So, and then we started building the brand about a year ago.
Okay, Glenn, I've got to admit this in front of all the listeners. I have always been a bit of a KLF fan. How did you get that gig for What Time Is Love America? Because you really owned that.
Well, Bill Drummond called me at the same time that Tammy Wynette's song with KLF was #1. He called me and he said, hey, we've got this other song that we want to get in the studio and do it. He said, are you available tomorrow? And I said, anybody else interested? He said, we were going to ask Robert Plant. I said, well, I'll be right there. So I went down. It was like this would have been November '91, and let's just say this was months before I got sober, just a couple of months. And when I did the song "What Time Is Love" with KLF, I realized that this was an opportunity for me to grow spiritually and maybe, just maybe, be able to get clean and sober. So I went to Betty Ford, and when I got out of Betty Ford, KLF were like #4 on top of the pops.
I know, brilliant. And did it make you feel like Robert Plant out of the Immigrant Song when you were on that boat?
No, Robert's a dear friend of mine. That whole thing was really uncomfortable for me. I mean, I wasn't the man I am today. I was, let's just say, I was still taking it to the limit. When I look back at KLF, it was a huge relief for me to have this successful song with those guys, and that sort of got me to realize that I maybe have been overserved at the bar. I maybe need to go check in, So.
Well, thank you, KLF, for bringing Glenn back to us.
And well done on that, matey, because you did sort of reinvent yourself, really, didn't you?
I did, and I did it not because everybody else was tired of me, or not because I would turn my back on the music industry. I just was addicted to narcotics that I couldn't stop, And then one day I woke up and said, something, things have got to change. What's got to change? Everything's got to change. Yeah. So, I mean, my girlfriend, my life, music, my home. I moved away from everywhere. I started to build a new life for myself, and it took a few years to breathe again. And now I'm here, breathing on my own.
And back with a vengeance, may I say.
And healthy, and with more manageable hair, may I say.
Yeah. Oh, the hair. It's got
Nobody mentioned California jam hair.
We don't.
No, some guys, if I could wear that hair for my age, I would gladly wear it. But the only person that can wear long hair that's my age or older than I is Ozzy. Ozzy looks okay with long hair.
He does actually, doesn't he?
I could grow my hair back again, but it's not for me.
It won't work.
No, you've got those cheekbones. You don't want to cover them up.
Not at this point.
Right, Glenn, as you know, for me, any bass player, part of the back line, is only as good as his drummer, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Please tell us, what was it like playing with Ian Pace?
It was wonderful. Ian Pace is... I'm really, really, really happy to say that the drummers are, let's just say Chad Smith, Ian Pace and John Bonham, as well as Jason. I've played with Bonhams. Those guys never make mistakes. I mean, Ian Pace, in the whole time, he never made a mistake, and his timekeeping was impeccable. And drumming, you've got to be healthy to be a drummer, and you've got to have the energy and lifestyle to be an athlete, because drums, man, will really wear you out.
Yeah, it's a workout.
And it's, with me again, it's the notes that I don't play are the most important.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Now, you've described your new band. I've only heard this a couple of times in rock history. Van Halen said, when they were asked what do you do, categorise yourself, they said big rock. On this one, you have said this is proper rock.
Yeah.
Well, when I said these things, it was a very quick interview, and when I say proper rock, I mean there's new terms and genres now of rock music that I'm not too sure of, because I don't listen to a lot of rock music today. I just listen to the music that was elegant for me in the 70s, where I can name you 10 bands that are so iconic, and I was in 2 of them. So proper rock to me is the rock music that I should be playing for myself, that fans can enjoy.
I think it does what it says on the tin.
I think so.
Yeah. Right, last question for you, Glenn, is one that we ask every rock icon that we interview. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What's your favourite fish?
I'd have to say it would have to be sea bass.
Ooh.
Chilean sea bass.
Let me just make a note of that. Glenn Hughes, legend,
Right,
sea
we've got
bass.
the rockfish list happening.
Brilliant.
Here.
Yeah.
Glenn, anything you'd like to add before we go?
My fan base in the UK is very important to me. I need them to know I'm healthy. I'm full of love, and here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please put your hands together for the legend that is Mr. Glenn Hughes.
And we're
Thank
glad
you.
you're healthy, matey. We really are.
Thank you, Kendall. Thanks so much.